Center stage on the Mizai. Just gonna be really quick, you know. Let me see, is this music too damn loud? Because feeling like it might be just too loud. Maybe that's better. What up, y'all? Welcome to another live stream of Hip Hop Now podcast. Dropping whenever I feel like dropping it, but mostly a response to things that are happening in the moment that maybe I have a few words on, but won't save it for the weekly show, Hip Hop Now podcast. If you are watching via YouTube, Twitter, wherever, subscribe to the podcast over at YouTube. We are around 3,000 subs in. The goal for the year, 5,000. I have to raise that. But we're going to get into the business of this topic right here and right now. Honestly, let's share screens though. Let's share screens. Feel free to comment. I will post your related comments to this stream. And feel free to share it with people who might want to join in and have something to say. Let me share my screen real quick. Here we go. Now, apparently, Beanie Siegel's outside. And what comes with being outside? Well, sometimes you got to go and get that interview money bag from whoever it is. In this case, it's the Art of Dialogue, which is a channel I personally subscribe to because after too many situations with Flag, right? And I never really watched No Jumper. I just started getting to the point where I was going to like support, you know, people who kind of do the same gossipy kind of content, but are clearly black. Now I assume so. All right, he sounds like it. Who knows? But Beanie Siegel basically has been featured on Art of Dialogue, and one thing he said that stood out was that Memphis Bleak don't write his own rhymes or didn't write his own rhymes. He had help from Jay-Z. But also he was saying how much Jay-Z stepped on some of his releases, including other things like he would have went with Dame and all kinds of stuff. But shout out to this person right here on, what's his name? Jordan Y Rock or Jordan, whatever, Luis. He kind of broke down what Beanie Siegel was trying to say about Jay-Z stepping on his releases. Let's just go through what he had there. Did Jay-Z really step on Beanie Siegel's album releases? Let's not take Siegel's word as truth. Let's look at the facts. Jay-Z Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter, dropped in December 28, 1999. Then Beanie Siegel dropped his solo album, The Truth, on February 29th, 2000. Jay-Z then dropped The Dynasty, Rock La Familia, on October 31st, 2000, which is Halloween, which also featured Beanie Siegel on a lot of these joints, but we'll get to that. Beanie Siegel dropped The Reason on May 26, 2001. Jay-Z then dropped The Blueprint on September 11th, 2001. Beanie Siegel's The Becoming dropped on March 29th, 2005. And this person on X says Jay-Z was retired and didn't drop an album in 2005. Beanie Siegel was in prison. The facts show that this is a lie. The closest Jay ever dropped to Siegel's album was 2 months apart. These N-words get on these interviews and start lying, and nobody ever gives them any pushback. Jay-Z changed that man's life, and because he refused to take accountability for his own reckless behavior, he blames Jay for how his life and career turned out. It's disgusting. Oh, wow, that's crazy. But is it true? Well, yeah, the release dates are true, for sure. Was it Jay-Z's intention to step on his releases? Doesn't really look like it, but I think where I felt Jay-Z was kind of getting in the way was when And not just Beanie Siegel because he did it with Bleak, but there were Jay-Z songs on their albums. Like The Truth has an actual Jay-Z song at the end. I think it's the joint Anything. I think that's the last song on Beanie Siegel's album, which is a Jay-Z song that wasn't featured on Jay-Z's album. Now I get the strategy there for Rockefeller. It's like, yo, to get this exclusive Jay-Z song, you gotta go buy Beanie's album. But it doesn't do Beanie any justice to have people back then when it was just CDs go to buy his album for a Jay-Z song, because now you got to keep that up. You know what I'm saying? Back then. Now those people could just buy that Jay-Z song and not even think twice about Beanie Siegel's song or album. But Beanie Siegel saying this seems weird, and this is where I agree with this poster on X. Jay-Z did a lot for Beanie Siegel. When they signed Beanie Siegel, Beanie was everywhere. Beanie was on New York radio. He was on mixtapes with like exclusive joints, right? He was on Jay-Z's album Hard Knock Life, which was, at that point, it was when Jay-Z went platinum for the first time, I believe. And that was his big album. That was like Jay-Z's crossover album. And Beanie was on there. And when you look at some of the releases since Beanie Siegel was signed, Beanie Siegel was on everything. You know what I'm saying? He was on the lead single to Dynasty and arguably had the best verse. And Jay-Z was on a lot of Beanie Siegel albums. So in a lot of ways, when the major artist on the label, who happens to also be the boss, is putting his stamp of approval on you, not only featuring you on his album, but making sure he brings that spotlight as the big artist he is to your album by, being featured on your album. I can't say he's stepping on his joints, because even if you look at some of let's go back to Sharon real quick. Even if you look at some of the releases, right? Just off my memory alone, right? So Jay-Z Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter. Beanie Siegel, I believe, is on that album. But let's just look for the facts, right? Let's not make it up or from memory. Let's just look for the facts. I'm trying to open my Apple Music real quick. I don't think it's open. Let's try this again. Or let's try Spotify. We're gonna look at that real quick, because I am positive that that Beanie Siegel was on that album. I just don't remember what the name of the song was. So Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter. Yeah, how could I forget? Do It Again. That was the song I meant to say that's the song I was thinking about for Dynasty, where Beanie Siegel arguably had the best verse on there. Let's see, he's on Pop for the Rock also. So Beanie Siegel was featured twice on that particular album from Jay-Z's in 1999, before his album would drop 2 months later. You're not stepping on nobody's project when you're making sure you introduce them, especially that Do It Again joint. Like, yo, this is the new guy on the rock. He got an album coming out 2 months later. That's par for the course when it comes to business, right? That drop, plus it has an exclusive Jay-Z song on there that you can't get on Volume 3. So it was a nice alley-oop. Dynasty, Beanie's all over that, has some of the best performances. A lot of, obviously that's like a compilation album, to be honest. Then The Reason comes out, right? Jay's featured on there also. Blueprint comes out. Hold up. Beanie's on Blueprint. Hold on, the brother memory is just going. I would think so, but maybe not, because I'm not remembering any Beanie Siegel verses on the Blueprint. Let me see real quick. Good old Spotify. Yeah, because I don't remember any features being on that album except for Eminem. Yeah, so Eminem was the only one on there, right? Which isn't the biggest deal in the world because it's not like he has other Rockefeller artists on there, right? And that was December. I mean, not December. That was Halloween. Excuse me. That was September 11th of 2021. Beanie's next album didn't drop until '05, right? And Jay-Z's featured on that album. So again, I don't think any of this was Jay stepping on Beanie's releases. The only time I even thought about that was when Jay had, a song on his debut album. I felt kind of funny about that. Like, man, y'all don't believe in this album enough to just drop it? Y'all gotta put a song from Jay-Z, like a unreleased record from Jay-Z on Beanie Siegel's album? It just made me feel like there was some analytics that showed like it was not possible, or they just felt like it was going to get an extra boost because more people were willing to buy an album just because Jay-Z has one song on it. But I don't know. I look at it this way. This whole situation, and let me just stop sharing. But I look at this whole situation with Jay-Z as it pertains to former artists on the label versus Dame. There's something to be said about, and I don't know which way people feel, and you can leave your comments right here and I'll post them. But there's something to be said about the way Dame has been talking about Jay-Z with business and Beanie Siegel, even though it's not, what Beanie's saying is not that crazy. But nevertheless, it's not for Jay-Z versus what Jay-Z says, which is barely nothing besides make another hole. And more importantly, what Bleak says. Somebody asked Bleak, yo, Beanie says you ain't right and blah, blah, blah. Bleak just said sipping on Douce. And if you don't know, it's not because he likes it, it's because he's, I believe, part owner in Douce, which is a successful business that keeps Memphis Bleak from even needing to put out music, which is ironic because for the first time in a long time, Bleak is actually putting out new music, which doesn't sound that bad. And now you have Beanie saying he didn't write a lot of his stuff, and also, or he had help, one or the other. And Beanie Siegel saying, Jay-Z was getting in the way of his releases. I think it's terrible considering how much of a spotlight Beanie Siegel had on him because he was on the hottest record label at the time and he was up front. Like, I never felt like Beanie Siegel was background. I felt like he was a dope addition to the rock because even though I was cool with Bleak, he just didn't do it for me enough to get excited for his albums, especially once I heard some of them. But Beanie Siegel was different. I was like, Beanie Siegel was nice. Like, he rivaled Jay to me lyrically, you know what I'm saying? Compared to Beans, you're whack. I won't go that far. But for him to say this, honestly, let's talk about the platforms, because I think some of it has less to do with what happened and what people think happened, what really happened, and more to do with the fact that, and I ain't gonna say no names, because somebody even reached out to me because they wanted to do an interview, because these interviews come with a bag. And they come with a bag because of the notion that you will give them something viral to promote. Something that Beanie Siegel says Memphis Bleak ain't writing his rhymes. Oh, Beanie Siegel said Jay was stepping on such that he would have went with Dame. I'm even live streaming about it. I'm reacting to it. But I think in a lot of ways, I get it. It's a hustle. I would prefer if the headline for Beanie on, not that he has to do what I say, but the headline for Beanie was something like, I wish Jay would invest in my food truck. I'm not mad at Beanie for saying that. Why not? I'm doing the thing you said I should have done years ago, Jay. So what I'm going to do right now is offer an olive branch on this platform for you to show up for my food truck. Kiss showed up, he was there, but I ain't asking Jay to come through and flip burgers or nothing like that. I'm asking him to help me push this further, and I'm serious about it. Doing stuff like this is kind of like, okay, Beanie, come on, man. Why? Why this? I get it, but it makes sense. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of line. You tell me. Leave your comments in the comment section. I'll post them if they're related. But it just seems weird to me to do this, and I feel like what Beanie Siegel's doing now, as far as business and musically, but mostly business with the food truck situation, should not only be commended, but should be invested in. Whether that be Dame or Jay Z. I know Dame got his own money issues, but that don't mean the amount that would help Beanie would cripple Dame or cripple Jay Z. But this constantly bringing up old stuff, and you know Jay Z's albums stepped on my albums when they were featured on each other's albums. Like, I just felt like Rockefeller did the best they could to promote Beanie at the time, and he just couldn't stay out of trouble, and that got in the way of what was great, especially after the Becoming, which I think is arguably uh, Beanie Siegel's best album, like clearly his best album. So, in a lot of ways, it is what it is. I don't know what to think of it, honestly, because it happens with everybody. Everybody's trying to crash out and get something viral going. But at the end of the day, let's just stick to the facts. Let's just keep the facts going. All right. Follow me everywhere on social media at Vegas World INC. Excuse me, INC. And if you are not a subscriber to this channel on YouTube, become a subscriber today. If you like this content, hit the like button, share it with people you know would also enjoy this kind of content. More hip hop stuff coming to the channel very soon, including a new episode of That Time in Hip Hop. So stay tuned. But when you subscribe, hit that like button. Most importantly, what you should do is share it with hip hop heads that would enjoy this same kind of content. Until next time, I'm not a critic, I'm a fan. Peace.